State lawmakers still looking for answers after that massive contact tracing data breach discovered by Target 11. Lawmakers say most of the information they've gotten has come from Rick Earl's reporting, and he joins us live in the studio now after talking to one lawmaker about her frustrations. Rick?
A lot of frustrations indeed, David. It's been more than a month since we broke the story about the compromised personal health information of more than 70,000 Pennsylvanians. And today some lawmakers say they still haven't gotten answers from the state.
While I am exceedingly grateful for the excellent reporting that you have done on this issue, people should not have to rely on journalists to learn that their personal information has been compromised.
Senator Kristen Phillips-Hill, a Republican from York, critical of the Wolf administration and their handling of the contact tracing data breach first exposed by Target 11 in April.
I think it's incredibly unfortunate that we wasted $23 million on a contract. But even more egregious to me is that it leaked very personal and very sensitive information, including information about children.
Target 11 also learned that Insight Global didn't begin notifying people until 3 weeks after our report.
Now we find out that the entity is also absolutely horrendous at addressing the very concerns raised by those whose information was in fact leaked. And I, again, have to say, it's government dysfunction at the highest level.
In light of that, Hill is backing legislation that requires state agencies to notify those impacted by a data breach within 7 days. The legislation was amended to include third-party contractors like Insight Global.
It's certainly a great priority of mine, and I believe many of our colleagues. The bill, as amended, came out of committee unanimously, and I think that speaks to how people across the Commonwealth feel about this data breach.
Now, the senator attempted to hold a hearing to get more information, but the state health department backed out, citing a class action lawsuit that was filed. After our reporting, the state decided to end the contract with Insight Global later this month. The senator says she's hoping an investigation by the state attorney general will ultimately provide some answers. Reporting live this evening, Rick Earl, Channel 11 News.